Gbaanụ mbọ ka unu si n'ụzọ dị warawara wee banye. N'ihi na-agwa m unu, ọtụtụ ndị mmadụ ga-achọ ka ha banye ma ha agaghị enwe ike. Try your best to enter by the narrow door. Because I tell you, many will try to enter and will not succeed. Otito dịrị Jesu. Will there be many people who will be saved? A ga-enwe ọtụtụ ndị mmadụ ga-enwe nzọpụta. Mohe. How do you know? Ọ bụghị bụ ọdụ n'aka ma na-achị ndị ji abata n'igwe n'aka ndị Nigeria nke mmadụ kpọrọ ekpo. Ọ bụ ọnụ ma ọ bụ anyị megburu rejistreshọn ndị INEC kpọrọ kaadị anyị why? Otito dịrị Jesu. I think if you ask the wrong question, you don't get the right answer. So the first thing is to ask the right question. Will there be only a few to be saved? The question should be, will I be saved? Ọ bụ ga-aja ado ole je enweta nzọpụta bụ ị ga na-ajụ n'ọbọ ama enwetakwe nzọpụta. Maka na wọnda iji afụ deb na ị nwere ike iruo ị ga nọ na geeti arịọ biko n'ebe ọ gaghị chere na oje ka ọkụ mmụọ ga-anọ n'eluigwe hen ga-eka. There will be many surprises. Archbishop Fulton Sheen said that he knows there will be many surprises in heaven. One surprise is that many whom we expect to be there may not be there. And many whom we expected not to be there will be there. But the greatest surprise is that you yourself may be there or not be there. Ajụjụ anyị bụ Jesu na nkuzi o nyere anyị abụghị sọsọ ndụ jụrụ ya na ndị nyere ya, onye jụrụ ya na onye nyere ya bụ nkuzi bụ ọdụ na mkpa na ọdụ na anyị niile mkpa. Maka na o nwere ụdịrị mbọ ndị mmadụ na-agba kịta. You know, something that is very much in vogue today is being fit, fitness. Every morning, most of the time, or especially on Saturdays, you see people training. Now, boss, in stadium, campus, in government field, Isuruzon and Saka, Mbona Kamashib Nokpara Square. On Saturdays, AJ workout in Okpara Square, training, fitness training. Many people. Then the Hago guess Zaiga Magmahan, then they gave it to go more. Halile Nen stadium. But the thing now much even Anagagbasa for the Anagagbasa. Hena be about 5:30 or 6 o'clock. Mehanaga allow Ganaka 10. Go behind they made there and make exercise for 1 hour. It took wait all. Rigidi hang my Ganaka 10. The gate is narrow. And to enter that narrow gate, we have to be fit. We have to it is a struggle. That struggle is not with any other person, but with yourself. No Nigeria marazo ihazo. Onwegi anyị ga-aza in this country, especially in this diocese. Tento anegbu Boshash Wednesday. Na azo ya azo. One day, Musaranda Cathedral. Suppose Nansu now, Nemadiri Evruzoje Bonto, Boshash Wednesday this year, Jango Topo Lentago, Oje Vozo. Manabi Kabun Hechibru no chera. Erumbaje Bonto, Azogda. But the struggle to enter by the narrow gate is not with others. It is with yourself. To make sure that you are in shape, that you are fit, to enter that narrow gate. And it is a daily training and struggle. O nwere ihe anyị gụrụ na Erida Igbo, elementary 1 ka ọ bụ 2, akụkọ mbe na ewu. Ofu mbọsị ka ewu na mbe jere ori akwụ na be ofu onye. Fatakata mbe esi n'oghere fasi bata wee pụọ ka ọ mara ma afụ ya ọ ga-agafe nkwa n'oghere anwa. Na ntụmadị onye nwe ụlọ ewe bata, mbe ewe si n'oghere wee piopụ, mana ewu afọ ya ebughị ibu, o jezie ka ọ pụọ, ọ bụrụ na ọ mapụnwu, onye nwe ụlọ ejide ewu na ori akwụ. Otito dịrị Jesu. Ọtụtụ n'ime anyị ga-evumekwa excess luggage. Ọtụtụ n'ime anyị ga-evume excess luggage ji achụ anyị mbata na be Chukwu. We are carrying excess luggage that will prevent us from entering the presence of God, entering through the narrow door. And that excess luggage is such that every day, if you don't take time or name accumulate, you add the weight in the abia. And he had losing weight and being fit in human material life, physical life. The same thing in spiritual life. Only 2 dimensions. There are exercises you must do every day. And there are things you have to stop doing. The rule is without exception. Only ihe ọ bụ ị na-eri gị mega exercise no walk. Meti ị ga-eri no nwere ihe ọ na-abụ ị na-agba n'ọsọ ma ị mega exercise no walk. You have to combine positive action with discipline in what comes in. That exercise cuts off, removes excesses. Your discipline in what comes in also prevents the things that the body don't need from coming in. The university now here, some of them, professors, then the English, then the biology, then the molecular biology not here. Oye ni munuka Maria ne cholesterol ni boya kanam. Cholesterol. Mano we ba ga magi oboketa. Tabi asai ne maneku ne me cholesterol. Mo be cholesterol no ni mege ni nwe heart attack. Erile maneku ozo no ga bo geredo granite vegetable oil. Tenya na eme ban tenya ga na ga eme ban. Tembo ndabo chemical say she na China vu betenai assign no home ga ko yineshi. Nso hene na mo rigide kwero nku manu eku ga the 99 years. Mama mo nwede go heart attack. Gede ge nkem na eri wonhwa gije memo cholesterol. But the fact remains. The lesson is simple. Nihem obarada ine shishi na ya gbagari everywhere. Cholesterol abioja bu osuchite onu vein or vessel of blood vessel. The blood will not flow and you die. So some drugs or exercises will help you keep cholesterol level low. But there are things you cannot eat or you eat later. Otito diri Jesu. That is the discipline it takes to remain fit. There is no shortcut to it. In our spiritual life, it is the same. There are things you must avoid to remain fit. First of all, you avoid sin. They make your soul heavy. Hatred, unforgiving spirit, gossip, anger. All these things make your soul heavy. But in addition to that, you need exercises. Exercise are about letting things go, letting things pass. Eventually, material things, don't let them stick to you, because they could become like a rope or a chain that will either chain you or hook on something at the gate. You can't enter. Let go. Be free. Don't let your heart be attached to anything in this world. Use and let others use. But then, how do we acquire that discipline? Through training that begins from the family, through the family to the schools, to the church, to the larger society. The discipline we need to lead a sane and happy life begins from the family to the schools and churches and to the larger society. Without that discipline, the letter to the Hebrews today in Agwai, quoting Proverbs chapter 3, verses 11 to 12. Don't despise chastisement, hardship, when it comes from God, because God has called you Father. And like a child of God, whom he loves, he will discipline you. He will allow hardship to come to you. But that hardship is meant to keep you fit, in shape for his kingdom. And the same book of Proverbs continues and tells us in chapter 13, verse 24, you know that expression, famous expression. He who spares the rod spoils the child. And advises every parent. Proverbs chapter 19, verse 18. Chastise your son, for in that there is hope. But don't desire his death. Ị ga na-ata nwa gị ahụhụ ma ọ bụrụ na ị chọrọ ma ọ baa gị uru. There is something I have noticed recently on social media. The amount of political campaign already going on the social media. And this campaign is going on principally between young people, youths, supporters of the various candidates. And some are already complaining. Some are complaining that these young people are very violent, intolerant, abusive, especially of anybody who doesn't accept their way or their own candidate. Unfortunately, some accuse only the obedient, those who are obedient, part of the obedient movement, that they are violent. My dear brothers and sisters, it is everywhere. Our young people, especially when they can hide behind the anonymity of the internet, tend to get violent. The same anonymity that they acquire when they are inside a katakpa, or Uriokpa, or Odo, they get violent. Because Obego John, na Joseph, na Chigozie, no Gabo, Odo, Akatakpa, Uriokpa, then they do things that they would ordinarily not do. And we are complaining. And I'm asking, are we expecting our young people to give what they don't have? Are we expecting them to return investments that we did not make? For how many months now, our university students in federal institutions are on strike? Government also, lecturers also. Ha na-asị ya hom ụmụaka ga-etukwu n'ụlọ eme yahoo, eya katakpa, eyoriokpa, abamba, n'internet. You can see the children of these days are insolent. Who made them insolent? Anywa. Who made them indisciplined? Anywa. And get born a bido nursery school. Abumweka, children who were trained not by their parents but by Nollywood and cartoons, whose homeworks are done for them by nannies, for whom their parents do school run morning and afternoon, and when they go, they carry food. And when they return, their nanny will wash their clothes and iron them. They eat food, and the nanny will wash the plates while they are watching Nollywood and cartoons. And they will suddenly become disciplined children. Those same children will enter secondary schools. Of course, you don't ever fail in primary schools now. Every year you are promoted to the next class. They enter secondary schools. Some of them are not ready to work. And if they happen to find themselves in a very good school, like any of our Catholic schools, JS1, JS2, JS3, SS1, SS2, the mother, the father will remove them and put them in schools where they can steal to pass exams. And they will become very, very disciplined and well-behaved children. This thing happens every day. The so-called miracle centers in WAEC don't ever lack candidates. Many of our Catholic schools have as many as 150 to 200 students in SS2. But by SS3, they may have to pay a fine to be retained as exam center because their parents have taken them to where they can steal. And you tell them that embezzling public funds, changing figures in election, or even killing to get what is not theirs is wrong. No, they will not understand. Once I came, bien, ifoma, kedifa ike na berakwa. Ase wagan gari oriade. Oburu no sna achori ha mega aju. Oria okwe kwa jakwa. O wolite nka wo tai, o wolite nka wo tai, ovulimo nwe ovuton. I say, daddy, come, daddy mo, come. Iwori omon acho, mobunke, wonagaya. Thank you very much. We are grooming an armed robber. Onwagin the begum, the end of Moswar, Gamago Kuto. We're in the Mariabo Kuto here. And the Gamago Kuto, no la, no Jumamamu, no Gunabo Kuto. E feren wero kuchi. Obere fera hun wero kuchi. Every mother had it. Angbama gen wegu feeding bottle. Me wegu pure water. Nka be nweko miya na agba na bottle. No ba amuma nwa ohu eshime munyi n'ọkụ. Munyi joyi agbari ya yi n'okute okuto tuchite. Anukanu nwata munyi ewere obere ngaji ekite munyi ate ya n'ọnụ. Otito dịrị Jesu. But I noticed gamugene swete. No bụ name kite munyi oja we nwanti n'ọnụ. Wonye hete ishi over tie. Bemsia, why do you do this? Mama gonna be here in eme. Osum no man one mar. On abu wata krik be mono mate yami nono. E wuru munyi za hakpor yahu. Why? Osum no man one mata mbo haja. No bugi helile do yo hurnendo ya boje nwete. Ando wergije megre na no. Na nri. Niha ne keke mobana na no na mgbende ga ino ime ha sig bele ka godiona nege jidigu munije hegi shi mgbomrogo. Were you not taught when you were a baby that you cannot obtain everything you want or like. That is the discipline. Go and check all the best graduating students of the universities. Go and check all those who have first classes. None of them got first class or is the best graduating student just because God gave him something. He or she will tell you, I cut off most of my friends. I stopped socializing. I stopped partying. I sat down. I read my books. That is how you get the discipline that makes you pass the narrow door. And I don't know first class. And some will never have first class. They will never be the best of what they can be because they are gathering. Now gather social relationships. Now gather money. Now gather luxury. Now gather enjoyment. You have to try and check what you will drop. Some of our teachers in the university now here are gathering and gathering and gathering. It is true. Their salaries should be a lot better than what they are paid within our economy. Because our government, Nigeria, has enough money to pay workers well. If those who administer our wealth manage our wealth well. It is true you may not be paid good enough. But is it the fault of the student that you are not paid well enough? Or of his parents? That you collect that your salary, whether it is small or big, and you still collect extra through handout that you must sell, and you have to mark that he has bought your handout or textbook before he or she passes your course. Obru no we go. Oje go handout. Mege bu nwoke, ma ya bu nwa agbọghọ, wori ọzọ kwụma. Some of these teachers, lecturers, are teaching in UNN, ESUT, Ebonyi State University, and Oka, Nnamdi Azikiwe. Teaching in 4 of them because we're enwegu specialists in their field. And they are collecting salaries in those 4 places while not graduating future professionals so that they will be alone in that field. When they keep students for 7 years working on a project, and they get fat. You get fat, you are working in 5 places, and you want to enter by the narrow door. I ain't get you comment. Where they go? Shed weight. Keep fit. And all these things, these are only examples. Whether you are a politician, a civil servant, a market woman or man, or whether you are anybody at all, ask yourself, what are those trappings that are making your size so uncomfortable that you cannot pass through the narrow gate? So big that you can't pass through the narrow gate. Mosai no noima. Abenwo hakpache physically, but the light in his life. This is a man whom I know who does not allow anything to give him excess luggage. Anything at all. He has lived a life of suffering and sacrifice. I knew him when I was a small boy in elementary 6 or 5. Or maybe even a lot before. About senior seminarians named Banato. The 3 of them who were senior seminarians in our town or in our station. Then Jonathan Mba, Francis Ugweze, and Tadon Oima. Mba was a Spiritan. So we didn't see much of him. And for some reason also, I didn't see much of Ugweze. Except when he came on holidays, he came to greet my parents. But Onoima was much around. Okuzikani catechism. And born a catechism nearby, I wasn't even old enough to be part of the catechism class. I remember clearly, he was the first human being I remember telling that I want to be a priest, that I wanted to be a priest. My parents tell me that I started saying it when I was too small. Manankem ne chete. Bron werbosha na kuzi catechism. Ogna kpeha gana kwadong basa. Untukuru nele desk. He was on the table. He was sitting beside the table. Gonyen kuzi. Untukuru nele desk. Say ana mechi fada. And he stopped what he was doing and looked at me. Some because he had a problem with my father. My father, Brunyinkz, and their salaries were so small that time, but we all thought they were rich. Mosaino Noema, seminarian, was suffering. He didn't have enough money for his seminary training. He depended on charity. And then including my father. Ekwega ni ego, ekwega te vili take ne bashkur. Robi so am vili take ne bashkur, also gonna spoke ye jagbaji. He would always tell that story. Spoke agbaji lego, no vili take ne spoke agbaji. There was one man, a mason, who had nothing, Elias Sasogwa. He was the only friend Onoima had in Imirike. And then Elias recorded it didn't until Elias died. He had nothing. Obi already Elias, general. And this was when he was already teaching in a senior seminary. No Bokwagam seminarians also. So Osim suppose Nendamurga Jew. Memsa Neheju Mbagar. Mbagar and Nalatako Mozoka Mehequir. I don't know whether he told them, but I never discussed with him again. Until I had my first crisis in the seminary, and he was in room. I wrote him. Otito Dirijesu. And after that also, I had the privilege of being taught by him. What I learned from him, I don't remember anything in the classroom, age pass exam, with the first class. But I remember things he was telling us, which eventually started collecting as lessons for life. Those lessons for life have remained with me till today. And about Kagburu Osogo, you may not accept this, but life will teach you. This man, I have known him as not being attached to anything, whether to material wealth or even to spirituality and to power, especially ecclesiastical power. Those who knew when he was Vicar General n'ekwukwo maọbụ na ndị onye na-eka n'izu ahịa maọbụ n'ịma ọrụ John chapter 14, verse 6. I am the way, the truth, and the life. Nobody comes to the Father except through me. And then in John chapter 10, he says, I am the gate or the door to the sheepfold. Anybody who enters from any other source is a thief. But anybody who enters through me will be free and will be saved. So that narrow gate is Jesus himself. The narrow gate is Jesus, and he then gives us the model. Matthew chapter 16, verse 24, Mark chapter 8, verse 34, and Luke chapter 9, verse 23. Yes, I am the way. I am the door. But if you want to enter through me, take up your cross and follow me. Because it is that cross that keeps you in shape. It is if you live the type of life that I live, that is when you will be able to enter through me. But in addition to that, you know how to enter through the narrow gate. Since Jesus has told us he's the door, he is also the key. Jesus is the door, the key. When a friend of mine in a room, moto ye car gana to anuzo. Bem si aguru no moto zo. Boss muchir. Na agente save gudego, ya save tego ya jejego, piom piom. Bem si olebu ko ma piom piom. Osum na bonka na abuya norof, aja abuya norofa. Ya wolf take key. Taba like this pure yeka ome piom piom ya baye mete. Automatic door. And honestly, save the ego, save the ego, you deposit. You go to the car and a higher purchase. Go for 10 years. Manogabon norambonole. Up your teka, ome, piom piom, oba. Those keys, automatic keys for opening the door at a distance. Some of those cars, open the keys on you, on your pocket. As you approach the door and touch it, it will do what? It will open. Jesus is the door. Jesus is the key. And he has told you, anybody who eats my body and drinks my blood, John chapter 6, verse 56, I think, or 58. I will abide in him, and he will abide in me. So, if you receive the Eucharist constantly and regularly and follow the rules of the narrow gate, Jesus is inside you. The key is inside you. John chapter 15, from verse 1 to 9. If you abide in me, and I abide in you, through my word that dwells in you, that cuts off, that prunes, cuts off all the excesses, greed, jealousy, envy, licentiousness, sensuality, extra attachment to wealth. My word will cut those things off. If you allow me to dwell in you, if you come to the gate, me dwelling in you will recognize me inside. Because he says, once the Lord of the house has closed the door, you can be shouting and banging at the door. What it means, if you are shouting and banging at the door, and he is not dwelling in you, all the sacraments you received are wasted. All the masses you attended are wasted. All the word of God you heard is wasted. But if that word has taken flesh in you and is guiding you in your life, once you come to that door, remember what Paul tells us in Romans chapter 8, verse 16 and verse 26, that the Spirit of God is dwelling in us. And it is that Spirit of God inside us that makes us call God a Father. And in verse 26, he says, that same Spirit comes to help us in our weakness. Especially when we are unable to pray, the Spirit inside us will be groaning and speaking a language that the Spirit of God will understand. Jesus in you, through his word and through his sacrament and his cross that allows you to follow the same life that he lived, will be like the automatic key. If it is in you, once you approach the door, it will do what? Pium, pium, and you will enter. But then, those automatic keys, if you have any of those keys that is like a card, it's here in a pocket, they will tell you not to put it near your phone and not to put it near any magnetic field, because the magnet will remove everything inside it that it uses to command the pium-pium. Jesus may be living in you, but other things have blocked his activity. There will be no pium-pium. Now is the time to remove all those things blocking the influence of Christ in us, and that will open the door for us. And one way also of keeping those things, keeping the Lord afresh inside us, is go out to the whole world, proclaim the good news, show by your life that you as Christian is also a small door that leads people to Christ for them to enter the kingdom. Religious articles. These sacramentals. And mass. Anytime you find a church, you find people selling sacramentals around, because they believe that those coming to the church will be interested in buying sacramentals. But then with one man, JJ shop mbonere sacramentals in a place like Amam Slaughter Road or like that now. Ebe was also confusion. And we are again that type of street. Me prostitutes, me drunkards, me ndo show during that street. The man went and opened his own sacramental shop there. And people asked him, go chaplet here. Why don't you go and open your shop in front of the cathedral? I say, I'm keeping this here so that when people see this shop, they will remember there is God. And it may lead them to some change of heart. May your life, wherever you are, be a type of sacramental shop that people can see and approach, and through you get to the door. And the Lord inside you, inside that place, when we approach the gate, even if it is about to close, we will hear pium pium.